The ship Lalana shook like a dying beast. Red alarms flashed across every wall, turning the control room into a nightmare of light and smoke. The crew ran from station to station trying to keep the ship alive, but nothing was working. Every few seconds another explosion hit the hull. Sparks rained down like burning snow. Captain Yelena, a reptilian humanoid with green scales, struggled to stay on her feet. The attack had come from nowhere. One moment the Lalana was on a peaceful scouting mission. The next, enemy missiles tore through their shields before they had time to react. It felt less like a surprise attack, and more like a trap. A console on the left side burst open, throwing hot metal into the air. A young crew member fell to the floor, silent and still. Smoke filled the air. The entire control room smelled like burning wires and panic. Yelena forced her voice to stay calm. Status report. Her engineering chief, Luna, shouted back over the alarms. Shields gone. Engines failing. We cannot take another hit. Another explosion shook the ship and almost knocked everyone down. The navigation officer, Kron, was desperately trying to update the star map, but his screen flickered and died. Captain, our charts are gone. Our jump system cannot lock on any safe coordinates. Yelena looked at him. His hands were shaking. His face was pale. He knew the truth even before he said it. We cannot make a safe warp jump. Without a warp jump, they would be destroyed in minutes. Yelena made a choice that even she feared. Prepare for a blind jump. The room froze. A blind jump was suicide. Without coordinates they could warp into a star, a black hole, or get torn apart by gravity. But staying here meant certain death. Kron stared at her like she had gone mad, then slowly nodded. Yes, shiphead. He typed as fast as his injured hands allowed. Nobody spoke. Nobody breathed. When Kron finally hit the final command he whispered, "Jumping, now." The universe folded around the ship. The stars stretched into lines of white light. The Lalana shook harder than ever before. Half the crew fell to the floor. Panels shattered. Glass cracked. The lights died completely for several seconds. Then, with a shudder that felt like the ship was ripping apart, the Lalana dropped out of warp. Silence followed. A heavy, frightening silence. Yelena opened her eyes and forced herself up. Smoke curled from broken consoles. Several crew members were unconscious. Others screamed in pain. The control room looked half destroyed. Report, she said again, but this time her voice trembled. Luna coughed hard before answering. Engines dead. Shields dead. Life support weak but stable. We are drifting. Kron wiped blood from his forehead. Navigation system is burned. I don't know where we are. The crew exchanged worried looks. Blind warp jumps were unpredictable. They could be anywhere in the galaxy, or beyond it. Slowly the sensors flickered and came online. Kron stared at the screen, confused. Captain, I see a yellow star ahead. Yelena frowned. Many systems have yellow stars. Yes, Kron said softly, but this system has 8 planets. And many moons. And strange artificial signals. Yelena stepped closer. Artificial. Kron nodded. Yes. One planet is covered from surface to surface in structures. I've never seen anything like this. The crew whispered nervously. An entire planet turned into one giant city? What species could build that? Before Yelena could reply, the ship alarm screamed again. But this time, the tone was different. It wasn't an enemy alarm. It wasn't a friendly alarm either. It was an unknown alarm. The crew stiffened. Luna checked the scanner twice, her eyes widening. Captain, something big is approaching us. How big? Yelena asked. Luna swallowed. Twice the size of our largest battleship. A cold fear went through the entire control room. Kron zoomed in on the image. A massive dark vessel glided toward them. Its shape was sleek, powerful, and unlike anything they had ever seen. Shields were bright around it, glowing like a blue storm. Yelena whispered, Weapons? Not armed, Kron said. But that ship doesn't need weapons to be dangerous. One touch from it can crush us. The unknown vessel moved closer and closer, until it filled the entire viewing screen. Its engines glowed with a strange white light the aliens had never seen before. Luna's voice shook. Captain, they are hailing us. Yelena hesitated. They had no idea who these beings were. Friends? Enemies? Hunters? Finally she nodded. Patch them through. A strange noise filled the room, deep, rough, impossible to understand. The translation system struggled. The crew watched in fear as the machine tried to convert the alien language. Then suddenly the voice became clear. A human voice. Calm. Confident. Almost friendly. No need for translation. We have scanned your logs. I am Captain Reynolds of the USS Thanatos. The entire alien crew froze. They did not know this species. They did not know this language. Yet the human spoke as if it was nothing. Reynolds continued. You seem to be in trouble. May we assist? Yelena was speechless. Who were these humans? How did they learn their language so fast? How advanced were they? She finally answered, We accept your help. There was a short pause. Then the human captain said the words that changed everything. Prepare to be boarded, and welcome to Seoul. The control room of the Lalana stayed completely silent after the human voice ended. Everyone looked at Captain Yelena, waiting for her reaction. She felt her heart beating fast, almost too fast. She had faced battles, dangerous missions, and strange aliens, but she had never faced something like this. A species they had never heard of. A ship larger than any they had ever seen. And a voice that spoke their language as easily as if they had known it for years. Yelena tried to speak, but her throat felt dry. She finally managed to whisper, Boarding? Luna, the engineering chief, looked terrified. Captain, should we prepare defenses? Yelena shook her head. No. We have no shields. No weapons working. If they wanted to destroy us, they already could. The truth was painful, but everyone knew it. The Lalana was helpless. They were injured, drifting, and half dead. They couldn't even run. Kron stared at the giant ship on the screen. Their vessel. It is so calm. No movement. No fear. It's like, they know they are safe. Yelena understood what Kron was feeling. These humans were not nervous, not cautious, and not slow. They approached with confidence, a kind of quiet power she had only seen in the strongest species. A soft beep echoed. They are docking, Luna whispered. The screen showed a long, dark bridge extending from the human ship toward the Lalana. A boarding connection locked onto their airlock with a heavy metallic thud. The crew looked at Yelena again. Captain, what now? Yelena breathed deeply. We meet them. The boarding. The hallway lights flickered as Yelena walked toward the airlock with a small group of surviving crew. Some leaned on walls for support. Others held their injured arms close to their chest. They tried to stand straight, but pain showed in every step. The airlock hissed, opening slowly. Cold air rushed in. Heavy footsteps echoed, strong, steady, confident. Human boots. 3 figures entered the alien ship. They were tall, covered in thick black armor with glowing blue lines. Their helmets were reflective, hiding their faces. They looked like soldiers, but also like explorers. Calm, silent, alert. Yelena stepped forward and lifted her hand in a peaceful gesture. I am shiphead Yelena of the RSV Lalana. We come in peace. The lead human touched a button on his helmet. It opened with a soft click. For the first time, the aliens saw a human face. A male. Short hair. Sharp eyes. But calm, almost gentle. He didn't raise his weapon. He didn't show fear. He simply nodded. I am Commander Hale, he said. Captain Reynolds sent us to assist. Yelena noticed something strange. Humans had no scales, no claws, no protective skin. They looked soft, fragile even. Yet, the way they stood, the way they scanned the room, the way they moved, it was clear. They were warriors. Not because of their bodies, but because of their spirit. Hale looked around at the broken walls and injured crew. You took heavy damage. Yelena nodded. We were attacked without warning. Hale exchanged a glance with the humans behind him. We will help stabilize your ship. But your wounded need immediate medical care. Our ship has better equipment. One of Yelena's officers stepped forward nervously. Why help us? Hale looked at him confused. Because you need help. The aliens blinked at the simple answer. Some species demanded payment. Some demanded loyalty. Some demanded surrender. But these humans simply helped. Yelena found herself trusting them more than she expected. Transfer to the human ship. The injured alien crew was carefully taken through the boarding bridge. The humans carried some of them with surprising strength. Their armor enhanced their power, but even without armor, they seemed strong for their size. Yelena walked last, keeping her eyes on everything. The human ship interior was very different from Lalana. Brighter lights. Smooth metal walls. Clean, organized, almost perfect. The air smelled fresh, controlled, balanced. 2 humans guided her. Please step into decontamination, one said politely. A gentle mist surrounded her. Not painful. Not cold. Just a light spray. Afterwards, the doors opened to a large hallway. Yelena's eyes widened. Screens on walls showed maps, status, and strange human symbols. Humans in uniforms walked quickly but politely nodded at her. She saw no fear on their faces. Only curiosity. Kron whispered from behind her, They are not afraid of us. Yelena replied quietly, Why should they be? The medical bay. The wounded aliens were rushed into a large medical room filled with advanced machines. Human doctors worked with speed and precision. Robotic arms moved above the beds. Soft lights scanned wounds. One injured alien gasped as a human device glued his skin together in seconds. Yelena watched in shock. Their technology was different, not always more advanced than hers but cleaner, smarter, more efficient. A human doctor looked at her. Your people are safe here. Yelena bowed her head slightly. Thank you. The strange conversation. Commander Hale returned. Captain Reynolds wishes to meet you, he said. Yelena nodded. Of course. But before she followed him she asked, Commander, where exactly are we? Hale paused, and then gave the answer she feared and expected. You are in the Sol system. Yelena frowned. We do not know this system. Hale nodded slowly. You wouldn't? This is humanity's home system. Yelena felt her stomach sink. She had not only found an unknown species, she had accidentally entered their home. She whispered, We are inside your borders? Hale gave a small smile. Yes. And that means you are under our protection. The moment Yelena stepped deeper into the human ship, she felt a strange mix of fear and wonder. The USS Thanatos felt alive, humming with power, energy and something more. Something she could not explain. Her people walked close behind, staring at everything. Humans moved around them with calm confidence, like seeing aliens was normal for them. Commander Hale guided Yelena down a long hallway. Captain Reynolds is waiting for you on the bridge. Yelena nodded, though her stomach tightened. Meeting the leader of these humans would not be simple. If they saw the Lalana as a threat, they could destroy it with a single order. As they walked, Yelena studied the walls. They were covered with glowing panels showing maps of the ship, weapon systems, and moving dots that represented crew members. Kron whispered, Captain, their ship has more power than any battleship in our fleet. Yelena already knew that. Every step she took made it clearer. The bridge of the Thanatos. The doors opened with a soft hiss. The bridge was huge, wide windows, bright screens, and humans sitting at organized stations. Their movements were precise and controlled. They did not panic. They did not worry. At the center stood Captain Reynolds. He turned toward Yelena and she finally saw his face. Older, sharp lines, serious eyes, not unkind but strong in a way that made her respect him instantly. He raised a hand politely. Welcome aboard, Captain Yelena. Yelena placed her hand on her chest. Thank you, Captain Reynolds. Your people have shown us great kindness. Reynolds nodded. It is our duty. But I hope you understand, you arrived in our home system without warning. That makes things complicated. Yelena lowered her eyes. I know. But it was not on purpose. We were ambushed. We jumped blind. Reynolds stepped closer, studying her. Your logs show a battle. You escaped by seconds. Yelena's eyes widened. You read our logs that fast? Reynolds gave a small shrug. Our AI helped. Their artificial intelligence. Yelena didn't want to imagine how powerful it was. The view of Earth. Reynolds motioned to a human officer. Show her. The windows dimmed slightly and the stars rotated. Slowly the planet came into view. A blue sphere. Covered with oceans. Surrounded by white clouds. Alive. Bright. Beautiful. Kron gasped loudly. Is that? Hale answered, Yes. That is Earth. Yelena leaned forward. She expected a war-filled world. She expected a harsh, metal-covered planet. But Earth was peaceful, almost too peaceful. There were lights on the dark side of the planet. Hundreds of them. Whole cities glowing like stars. Yelena's eyes widened. Your world is alive. Reynolds folded his hands behind his back. Earth has seen war, yes. But it has also seen peace. We protect our people. And we protect our home. Yelena felt a strange fear mixed with respect. A species that loved its home this much would fight harder than any enemy she had ever seen. Human technology shock. A young human officer turned to Reynolds. Sir, scans of the alien ship are complete. Yelena tensed. You scanned us without asking? Reynolds looked at her calmly. For safety. We needed to know if your ship had dangerous materials or weapons that could harm our system. Yelena wanted to argue, but she understood. They were strangers who arrived uninvited at Earth. Humans had every right to be cautious. The officer handed Reynolds a tablet. Reynolds read it silently. Yelena studied his face. His expression didn't change, not anger, not fear, just deep thinking. Finally, he looked at her. Your ship is damaged beyond repair. Yelena felt the words hit her like a punch. Beyond repair, completely? Yes. Even if we had your technology, the internal structure is nearly destroyed. Supporting beams, engines, shield generators, all broken. Luna whispered sadly behind Yelena. The Lilana are gone. Their home, their ship, their journey, all lost. Reynolds continued, but don't worry. You will not be left stranded. Yelena blinked. What do you mean? Reynolds turned the window slightly again, revealing a massive ring-shaped structure orbiting Earth. Kron nearly fell over. By the stars, what is that? Hale smiled slightly. That is the Helios drydock, one of our largest shipyards. Yelena stared at it. The ring was bigger than any station she had ever seen. Human ships moved around it like bees around a hive. This is where we repair our fleets, Reynolds explained. Her voice was almost a whisper. Humans have this much power? Reynolds didn't brag. He simply said, we build what we need to survive. A hidden human strength. Yelena followed Reynolds to a quiet side of the bridge. He spoke softly only to her. Your logs show the ships that attacked you. Yelena nodded slowly. Yes, the Omni-Union. They are powerful. Dangerous. Reynolds leaned closer. Are they coming this way? Yelena hesitated. We do not know. But they usually track survivors. This means, Reynolds said quietly, Earth might be in danger. Yelena swallowed hard. She didn't want to bring war to this peaceful world. I am sorry, she whispered. Reynolds shook his head. You survived. That's what matters. Then he said something strange, something that made Yelena's skin tighten. And if this Omni-Union comes here, they will learn something very important. Yelena stared at him. Learn what? Reynolds' voice became firm, calm, and deadly. Humans don't run. Yelena stood silently on the bridge of the Thanatos, feeling the weight of Captain Reynolds' final words. Humans don't run. There was no fear in his voice. Only determination. Only calm strength. Yelena had seen many commanders in her life. None of them spoke like this. None of them carried such quiet confidence. Human strength was something new, something she was still trying to understand. Reynolds returned to his command chair. Lieutenant, put Earth Defense Command on secure channel. Yes, sir, the officer replied. A screen opened in front of Reynolds. A woman appeared, strong eyes, dark uniform, and a serious expression. This is High Admiral Ria Sato, she said. Captain Reynolds, we received your message. You have aliens aboard? Yes, Admiral, Reynolds answered. Survivors from an attacked vessel. They were ambushed and forced into a blind jump. They landed in our system by accident. Sato nodded once. And the attackers? Reynolds looked at Yelena. Yelena stepped forward. They are called the Omni-Union. A war empire. They do not negotiate. They do not stop. Sato's expression didn't change. Can they track your jump? Yelena inhaled slowly. Most likely, yes. Reynolds added calmly, we might face a new enemy soon, Admiral. Sato didn't panic. She didn't raise her voice. She simply said, then Earth will be ready. Yelena felt a strange chill. Humans did not fear war. They prepared for it. The security meeting. Reynolds ended the call and turned to Hale. Escort Captain Yelena and her team to conference room 3. We need a tactical briefing. Yes, sir. Yelena followed Hale through the ship. This time she walked quietly, thinking deeply. She had expected humans to fear the Omni-Union. Most species did. Entire nations collapsed when the Omni-Union approached. But humans? Humans reacted with planning, not fear. Inside the conference room, a long table appeared. Screens lined the walls. Hale motioned for Yelena to sit. Captain Reynolds will join soon, he said. As Yelena settled, Kron whispered, I think humans are more dangerous than the Union. Luna replied softly, not dangerous. Prepared. Yelena listened to both but said nothing. She was still observing. Moments later, Reynolds entered. The room shifted. His presence filled the space. Let's begin, he said. A map of the enemy. Reynolds pressed a button. A hologram lit up, showing the Omni-Union fleet Yelena had escaped from. Kron flinched at the sight. Luna looked away. Yelena forced herself to stay calm. Reynolds studied the ships carefully. These vessels, heavily armored, high-yield energy weapons, and their movement pattern suggests experienced crews. Yelena nodded. Yes, they are ruthless. They hunt survivors. Reynolds looked at her. And you think they will come here? Yelena hesitated. She didn't want to bring death to this planet. But she had to speak the truth. If they tracked our jump path, they will follow it. Reynolds didn't show fear. Instead he leaned forward. Then we will intercept them before they reach Earth. Yelena frowned. You plan to fight them, in space? Reynolds gave a small nod. Earth is protected by more than ships. We have orbital defenses, shields, drone swarms, and the Helios drydock can deploy weapons platforms if needed. Yelena couldn't believe it. Your planet is a fortress. Reynolds looked at her with steady eyes. We learned the hard way that peace is fragile. A sudden alarm. Suddenly the ship's lights turned red. The alarm voice echoed through the room. Warning. Long-range sensor anomaly detected. Yelena froze. Kron grabbed her arm. Luna stared at the ceiling. Reynolds stood instantly. Hale, report. Hale tapped his wrist device. His face tightened. Captain. Something just exited hyperspace at the edge of the system. Yelena's heart dropped. It's them. It has to be them. Reynolds didn't guess. Show it on screen. A hologram appeared. A single ship. Large. Dark. Sharp edges like claws. Red lights glowing. Yelena recognized it instantly. That is a Union hunter ship. Reynolds analyzed it. Purpose. Yelena answered softly, to track survivors. To scan systems. To report locations to the main fleet. Luna whispered, if they found us. Kron finished the thought. The fleet won't be far behind. Hale looked at Reynolds. Sir, what are your orders? Reynolds didn't hesitate. Shadow it. Keep it away from Earth. Do not let it send a signal. Yelena's eyes widened. You plan to destroy it? Reynolds turned to her with a cold calm. If it threatens my planet, yes. Yelena had seen many commanders panic under pressure. Reynolds didn't. Humans didn't. They planned. They adapted. They faced danger without fear. A choice for Yelena. Reynolds suddenly looked at her. Yelena. You know their tactics better than anyone. Stay here and help us understand them. Yelena blinked. You trust me? Reynolds answered simply. I trust that you want to protect your people. And now, that includes the people of this system. Yelena swallowed. She never expected this. She never expected humans to accept her so fast, or to trust her in a moment of danger. She placed her hand on the table. Then I will help you. I will do everything I can. Reynolds nodded. Good. The hunter ship is moving. Battle positions. He turned toward the door. Hale with me. Yelena stood as well, heart racing. For the first time since she had escaped the ambush, she felt something strange. Oh, because humans were not afraid. And now, neither was she. The Thanatos shifted into high alert. Red lights pulsed along the halls, and the deep sound of warning alarms echoed through the giant battleship. Every human on board moved quickly but with calm discipline. No one ran. No one panicked. Yelena watched them with growing respect. Humans were strange, but in the best possible way. Commander Hale guided Yelena, Kron, and Luna to a protected observation deck. A wide window gave a view into the endless starfield. There it was. The hunter ship. Black metal, sharp design, glowing red eyes like a predator searching for prey. Luna trembled. It really followed us. Kron whispered, if the hunter sends a signal, the Union fleet will come. Yelena replied quietly, and they will not stop until everything here burns. Hale heard them but did not look afraid. He simply spoke into his calm. Bridge, this is Hale. Aliens are secured. Proceed with Captain's orders. On the bridge of the Thanatos, Captain Reynolds stood at the center of the bridge. Come. Solid. Focused. Status report, he ordered. Lieutenant Vega responded quickly. Hunter ship is still scanning the outer system. No weapons active. No communication attempts yet. Reynolds studied the hologram of the enemy ship. They're searching for survivors, he said. And they know someone ran. Another officer added, if they find any trace of the Lilana, sir, they'll broadcast it. Reynolds nodded slowly. And we can't let that happen. He tapped the console beside him. Prep the stealth drones. Shadow the hunter ship. The crew obeyed instantly. Yelena's warning. Hale returned to the observation deck, connecting Yelena to the bridge display. Reynolds' hologram appeared in front of her. Yelena, he said, We need your knowledge. What will the hunter ship do next? Yelena took a moment. She knew these ships well. She had grown up hearing stories about how they stalked systems before the main Union fleet arrived. She breathed slowly. Hunter ships are patient. They hide. They watch. They look for energy trails or unusual signals. Reynolds nodded. Stealthy. But, Yelena continued, if they suspect danger they will fight first, and ask questions never. Reynolds asked the most important question. What triggers the signal back to the fleet? Yelena answered immediately. If they detect active warships or defenses. Or if they detect any trace of us. Reynolds folded his arms. Then we must destroy it before it learns too much. Kron spoke nervously. Is that even possible? Hunter ships are extremely fast. Hale stepped forward. So are we. Yelena realized something. Humans were not being arrogant. They simply believed in their ability to adapt. The hunter ship moves. Suddenly a new alarm sounded. Captain? Vega called out. The hunter ship just changed direction. Reynolds looked at the screen. Where is it going? Vega scanned quickly. Her eyes widened. It's moving toward the remains of the Lelena. It must have detected something. Reynolds' tone hardened. How long until it reaches the wreckage zone? For minutes, Captain. Reynolds stood straighter. Hale, bring the aliens up. Yelena needs to see this. Within seconds, Yelena appeared on the bridge with Kron and Luna. The hologram showed the hunter ship accelerating like a blade slicing through space. Yelena felt cold fear. They found your rescue trail, she whispered. Your ship-to-ship retrieval signal, they can read the residue. Reynolds didn't blink. Then we intercept. The Thanatos prepares for battle. Arm plasma lances, Reynolds ordered. Power shields. Ready the main ion cannon. The crew moved instantly. Yelena watched in shock. This is a battleship? Reynolds smiled faintly. The biggest one Earth has. Kron whispered, it's almost as big as a Union cruiser? Reynolds corrected him calmly. Bigger. Yelena stared at the human captain. How many of these ships do you have? Reynolds met her eyes. Classified. She swallowed. Humans were far more advanced than she expected. The hunter detects them. Vega shouted suddenly. Captain. The hunter ship has turned toward us. It spotted our presence. Reynolds nodded slowly. Expected. Yelena felt her chest tighten. It's going to attack. Reynolds replied. And we're going to hit it first. He pointed at the screen. Fire the warning shot. A loud hum filled the ship as the ion cannon charged. The entire Thanatos vibrated with raw power. Cannon charged, sir. Reynolds raised his hand. Fire. A blinding beam of blue-white energy shot across the void. It passed dangerously close to the hunter ship, close enough to scorch its shields. Luna gasped. Kron stepped back. The hunter ship reacted instantly. It powered up its weapons. Its red lights brightened. Its engines roared. Vega reported. Hunter ship locking weapons. Yelena whispered, they will not retreat. They never do. Reynolds stood tall. Good. He turned to his crew. Lock all weapons. Prepare to engage. A quiet silence fell across the bridge, the silence before the storm. The Thanatos rotated to face the hunter ship head-on. Massive cannons aligned. Shield generators roared to full strength. Yelena felt her heart pounding. Humans were not hiding. Humans were not running. They were meeting the hunter ship directly. Reynolds spoke the final words of the chapter. Thanatos, prepare for combat. The space between the Thanatos and the hunter ship felt heavy, like the universe itself was holding its breath. Red lights glowed across the hunter ship's sharp armor. Blue lights pulsed across the Thanatos shields. Two giants. Two predators. Two worlds preparing to clash. Yelena stood on the bridge, frozen between fear and awe. She had seen the Omni-Union fight many times. But this was different. Humans were not afraid of the hunter ship. They were preparing to attack it. Kron whispered, they're really going to fight that thing? Luna added softly, the hunter ship destroyed 3 Republic ships in minutes. Yelena didn't answer. Her eyes were on Captain Reynolds. He stood tall, calm and focused, like a leader who had seen many battles and survived all of them. The hunter ship strikes first. Vega, the sensor officer, suddenly shouted. Captain. The hunter ship is powering weapons. They're targeting us. Reynolds nodded. Shields to full. Brace for impact. There was no fear in his voice. Yelena felt her chest tighten. The hunter ship fired. A beam of red energy ripped through space, slamming into the Thanatos shields. The entire human battleship shook, metal groaning from the impact. Alarms blared. Shields at 87%, an officer reported. Kron stepped back. That was only one shot. Reynolds answered. Then we won't let them fire another. He raised his hand. Return fire. Thanatos fights back. The Thanatos cannons lit up like blue stars. A dozen beams shot forward, striking the hunter ship's armor. Yelena held her breath as explosions burst across the enemy hull. Luna gasped. Kron's eyes widened. The hunter ship trembled from the hit. Vega reported quickly, direct impact. Their shields dropped to 60%. Reynolds nodded. Keep firing. Don't give them space to breathe. Yelena had never seen such efficient teamwork. Every human moved like part of one living machine. The hunter ship tried to dodge, but the Thanatos matched its movements. This wasn't a simple battleship. This was a hunter too. A human hunter. The hunter sends drones. Suddenly Vega shouted. Hunter ship deploying drones. 20, no, 30 small attackers. Yelena's blood ran cold. Hunter drones are fast. Very fast. They'll target weak points. Reynolds replied calmly, noted. Helios drones engage. The Thanatos launched its own drones, sleek silver machines with glowing blue lights. They shot forward like lightning, meeting the Union drones in a storm of sparks and explosions. Kron watched with awe. Humans fight with swarms. Luna whispered, this is madness. Yelena said softly. No, this is strategy. The hunter tries a new tactic. More alarms. Captain? Vega called out. The hunter ship is charging its main cannon. Everyone froze. Yelena whispered, that cannon can cut a battleship in half. Reynolds didn't blink. Hale, he said, launch the distortion torpedo. Hale responded instantly. Yes, sir. A small device shot out from the Thanatos. It looked weak, like nothing compared to the Union weapons. Yelena frowned. That little thing won't. Boom. A shockwave burst out, warping space around the hunter ship. Its cannon charge flickered, destabilized, and then died out completely. The hunter ship staggered, its systems overloaded. Kron nearly shouted, how did that stop it? Reynolds answered, voice steady. Humans don't always win with power. Sometimes we win with physics. Yelena had no words. Humans were not only brave, they were clever. A desperate move. The hunter ship suddenly changed direction. It's trying to escape. Luna shouted. No, Yelena corrected softly. It's trying to find a good angle to send a signal. Reynolds' eyes narrowed. Vega. Can it communicate yet? Not yet. But if it escapes the distortion field, yes. Reynolds stepped closer to the hologram. Then we end this. The bridge went quiet. Every officer waited for the order. Reynolds finally raised his hand. All weapons, focus on their engines. Yelena understood. If the engine was destroyed, the hunter ship could not run. And if it couldn't run, it couldn't call the Union fleet. Thanatos delivers the final blow. The Thanatos cannons charged again, brighter and louder than before. The bridge vibrated. The air hummed with raw power. Fire, Reynolds commanded. A massive wave of blue energy burst forward. It struck the rear of the hunter ship. Its engines flashed white, then exploded. A silent burst of light spread through space. The hunter ship began to drift, powerless. Vega shouted, enemy engines destroyed. They're dead in space. Yelena let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Kron whispered, we did it? Luna asked softly, is it over? Reynolds looked at the screen, studying the crippled hunter ship. No, he said quietly. The ship is still alive. And it can still send a signal if it repairs itself. Yelena understood what he meant. They had to finish the job. Reynolds gave the final order. Prepare boarding teams. We're going inside. Yelena's eyes widened. They were going to board a hunter ship? Humans were insane. Brave. Reckless. Fearless. And she realized something. Maybe that's why humans were dangerous to the Union. They didn't run. They didn't hide. They fought until the end. The hunter ship floated in space like a wounded beast. Its engines were destroyed. Its drones were gone. Its weapons were offline. But it was still dangerous. Yelena knew that very well. A hunter ship always had traps. Always had tricks. Always had backup systems. Humans, however, were already preparing to enter it. Captain Reynolds stood at the center of the bridge, speaking clearly. Team Alpha, suit up. We board in 5 minutes. Kron stepped forward nervously. Going inside that monster? Reynolds nodded. We must. If the hunter ship repairs any system, it can still send a signal to the Omni-Union. Yelena whispered, and then the whole fleet will come. Reynolds looked at her with steady eyes. And we won't allow that. She felt a mix of fear and admiration. Humans truly did not know fear. The boarding team. Yelena, Kron, and Luna were taken to the hangar. There she saw the human boarding teams, men and women in heavy armor, glowing blue visors, and weapons she couldn't even name. One soldier walked toward them. Tall. Muscular. Come. Sergeant Mason, he said. I'll be leading the boarding unit. Yelena studied him. He looked like a soldier made from iron. Mason turned to her. You know the inside of these ships. You're coming with us. Yelena blinked. Me? You know the layout. We don't. Kron panicked. But she's not a fighter. Mason placed a heavy hand on Yelena's shoulder. You won't fight. You guide. We protect. Yelena hesitated. This was insane. Boarding a hunter ship was suicide. But she saw Captain Reynolds watching her from the side. His expression was calm, but his voice carried trust. You don't have to do this, he said. But if you do, you'll help save our world. And maybe yours. Yelena looked at Kron and Luna. They were scared. But she knew what she had to do. I'll go, she said. Mason nodded. Good. Let's move. Inside the dead giant. The boarding craft launched, speeding toward the dark ship. Yelena's heart pounded. She had studied these ships in training. She knew how deadly they were. But seeing one up close, broken, damaged, glowing with sparks, was terrifying. The boarding craft attached itself to the hunter ship's hull. Breaching now, Mason said. A loud metallic hiss echoed. A hole opened into darkness. Lights on. Human suits lit the corridor with bright beams. They stepped inside. The air was cold. The metal was scarred. The walls dripped with dark fluid, Union coolant. Yelena whispered, This feels like walking inside a dead animal. Mason replied, Stay close. No one wanders. The silent hallways. They moved through the halls. Every footstep echoed. Yelena pointed left. That way leads to the communication core. Mason signaled his team silently. The humans moved with perfect coordination. Yelena felt strange. Republic soldiers shouted orders. Union soldiers screamed in battle. Humans? They moved like shadows. As they walked deeper, the lights flickered. Kron whispered, Is the ship alive? Yelena shook her head. It's running on emergency power. Suddenly, a loud metallic scream echoed down the hall. Everyone froze. Mason raised his fist. Weapons pointed forward. Yelena whispered, voice shaking, That's the ship resetting systems. Is trying to restart something? Mason nodded. Then we need to move faster. The last defense. They finally reached the communication core, a massive circular room filled with cables and glowing crystals. Yelena felt fear wash over her. If this activates, the Union fleet will know exactly where we are. Mason spoke into his radio. Captain, we reached the core. Reynolds answered, Good. Shut it down. Mason nodded. Yelena, show us the weak point. Yelena stepped forward. Her hands trembled. But she pointed to a column of blue light. There. Destroy that and the ship can't send signals. Mason raised his weapon. A screech erupted. Panels opened in the walls. Union defense drones. 10 of them. Black. Fast. Deadly. Kron screamed, Drones? Mason shouted, Shields up. The humans moved instantly, forming a protective circle around Yelena. Blue human shields clashed against red drone lasers. The room exploded with light. Yelena ducked. Kron hit the floor. Luna covered her head. Mason shouted, Push forward. Human weapons blasted drones into pieces. Explosions rang out. Sparks flew everywhere. Yelena could only watch. Humans fought like a storm. Then, silence. Every drone was destroyed. Mason checked his team. All good. Yelena, your turn. Yelena stepped forward. She reached for the glowing blue column and pulled the emergency override lever. The light flickered, dim, and died. She whispered, It's done. The ship can't call anyone now. Mason smiled behind his helmet. Good job. The end of the hunter ship. Back on the Thanatos, Reynolds watched the hunter ship lose all life signs. No power left, Vega reported. It's fully dead. Reynolds nodded. Thanatos, fire the final shot. A single beam of energy crossed space, and the hunter ship exploded into a silent ball of fire. Kron stared from the window in shock. We really won. Luna whispered, humans won. Yelena felt tears in her eyes. Tears of relief, of hope, because she finally understood something. Humans were not just survivors. They were